Um, I want to talk about something that's very personal, something that's kind of in the forefront of what's going on in society right now. A lot of people struggle with depression. A lot of people struggle with mental illness, and it seems to be a taboo topic to talk about. But I find it necessary to discuss these things, especially with COVID-19 going around. And since we shut down for COVID, I noticed there's been a spike in suicides, a spike in mental health related incidents that's been going around in our country. I was almost driven to suicide a couple of times dealing with these situations. James knew I had an issue with depression in the past because of grief that I was dealing with from my grandmother's passing and some depression from my eye condition. I've been under the care of a psychiatrist off and on since my grandmother passed away. My doctor knows me. He's been knowing me for years, and I trust him. They've been able to exploit not only just my disability, but take advantage of me having dealing with mental issues in the past. And the mental issues I'm referring to are depression and grief. I lost my grandmother and grandpa and a lot of other people, and losing my vision, hence the glasses. So they exploited the fuck out of that. I went through a really tough time when James got me pregnant and I figured out he wasn't going to be around. He started to abuse me again. And when I was pregnant with our baby Cash, there was a point where I literally wanted to end my life. James promised that he was going to come down and see me. He didn't. He wouldn't even call me some days to just check on me nor the baby. He would use the verbiage where instead of it being our family, it would be like you and your family. And instead of our baby, it was my baby. James kept some distance, emotional distance with this situation. And all of it caused me a lot of depression. He isolated me from my family. So I didn't want to live anymore. But the only thing that kept me through was my son, me being pregnant. I bonded with my child. That was the only thing that kept me going. When I'm like, well, Daddy don't want us, but I want us. I want you. I love you. I love my baby. So me pushing through a lot of the abuse was only because of my son, only because I was pregnant. I had a reason to keep living because James abused me so much to where I wanted to end my life. Period. I wanted to end my life. And for the Federation to know, because they had been watching us and surveilling us, I didn't know this at the time, that James had all these people doing all of this. I thought it was just me and him and our baby. So when I didn't want to live anymore, but cash kept me going. So when the baby passed and I had a miscarriage that James caused, it only caused me more depression. He kept me so isolated. He even kept, he hacked my mom's phone. And so they kept a happy birthday text from coming through. So the only person I heard from was my friend Jerry. James, I didn't even hear from James. Jerry sent me a gift. James didn't do anything. So still abuse. And it only added to my depression and my grief to have James do me in that manner. So when I say the Federation exploited my disability, they had planned to they planned to have me involuntarily committed a few times, and had me, they triggered me to go into a facility, um, and could have killed me because they switched my medication that caused me to throw up all day and all night. These just they changed my medication. They drugged me, and they put a suicide note online from my perspective. They called me a nigger and a coon, and said that my baby was unwanted and that I was unworthy. And that's when I figured out that they were watching me. And that's when I went into the facility for the first time in April. And me going into a facility allowed them to make changes to my vehicle to continue to watch me and track me, and changes to my apartment. And they had me involuntarily committed twice. The last time, HPD put me in handcuffs. I have the pictures of me in handcuffs that Mrs. Dillard's mother took of me in handcuffs because when the police were about to take me, I needed to use the restroom. They didn't want to let me use the restroom. I was on my period, and Miss Dillard had to beg them to let me use the restroom. They carried me away in handcuffs. I was taken in the back of a HPD police cruiser in handcuffs. And I said, I'm sure James will never be in handcuffs for what he's done to me. And I didn't commit not one crime. And look, James will never be in handcuffs for what he's done to me. So all of these hospitalizations were not for my benefit. It was only to ruin my reputation and to allow them to keep on stealing from me. HPD, that's a whole new video. But basically, anytime I would go and report something to HPD, they'd be like, "Are you hearing voices?" They'll give me a paper for mental health services. I'm like, "No, I'm just reporting a crime." And that's when everything clicked to me that police complicit. They knew what was going on, and they are just exploiting my disability to say, "Oh, she's mentally ill," when I'm not, to continue to abuse me, basically, to have Sonia and the Federation to continue to abuse me. The abuse got so bad with James, well, yes, I did want to end my life on a couple of occasions. And for them to put a suicide note online, from my perspective, I had my sister read it. And she didn't even read it the whole way through before she started to cry. So this is a different kind of torment, to have someone who you know and love, who you trusted this information with, and for them to plan and plot and say, "Oh, so when we get caught stealing, how about we just have her locked up and committed and tell everybody she's crazy?" That's exactly what they did. I'm grateful that I did not end my life. I'm grateful that I'm still alive, even though I'm miserable because of what they are doing. I'm glad that I didn't end my life. I'm so grateful that my little angel, though here briefly, no less impactful, got me through a difficult moment in my life when I couldn't handle the abuse. I know my baby is with God and my grandparents in heaven. I wish I could be holding my baby, but I do understand that my baby served his purpose. And I don't want to leave this earth by suicide. I want to live another 80 years if I can. But these people don't understand the mental and PTSD that I have now. So I'm praying that when I leave and move, that they will give me the time and respect and privacy I need to heal and move forward.